You must have heard of Gautam Buddha. So let's begin by finding out, what do you know about Gautam Buddha? Yes. Lavanya, are you able to hear me? Or is it ninth incarnation of Vishnu? That's a good one. Yes. Why do you call him an incarnation of Vishnu, Arnav? Arnav, you can unmute and tell me. He was so virtuous. That's why. Why you don't want to unmute today? You don't want to unmute, and that he was compared to the deity. Okay, that's what he says on his online submission. Yes, Mansi Ahuja says he was a philosopher and a meditator, and he's the founder of Buddhism, according to Anya Mandal. Yes. Anything else? Trisha says religious leader. Yes.
Ma'am, he was also the prince of a particular place, and after seeing all of the poverty and all of the
Yes. Okay. Ultimate reality for him was present issues. That's what she says. Arnav says he was a prince of Lumbini. Yes, Kapilavastu. Yes. And he was born in Lumbini. And he was born into the Shakya clan. Absolutely. Yes. And we have done that Shakya clan was a Republican tribe. So he was a Kshatriya who belonged to the Republican tribe, namely the Shakyas. That's why he is given the name of Shakyamuni. Okay. Now, Buddha means someone who has woken up to reality. Yes. Preach to lead an honest and a compassionate life. So Gautam Buddha was born to the king and queen of Kapilavastu. He was known as Prince Siddharth, and he was born around 566 BCE. So when he was born, the astrologer told everybody that he's going to be somebody who's going to be a saint, and he will abdicate the throne and give up all the worldly pleasures. His parents Shuddhodana and Maya Devi were shattered, and they decided to prevent this from happening by keeping a close watch on him and sheltering him from the outside world. So, where these places of Buddhist pilgrimages are, before that, I want you to tell me about this story of Buddha. Why do you think all these sights which he saw made him feel so disturbed? Yes.
Personally think he was a very empathetic and also a philosophical person. And the sights that he saw just made him realize that this is a path that he does not want to follow. Even if he's born into it, he chose not to follow it.
Yes, he was born into luxury, but he was a person who had a lot of feelings. Yes, Vanya. So that was yet another very important development in his life. And anything else? Any other comments? Arnav, Ashita, Arya? About the life of Buddha that comes to your mind? Or anyone else? Quickly.
Ma'am, ma'am, probably he had never seen any sort of misery or pain, and when he saw it, he realized that these things exist in the world, and probably to eradicate them or just to provide peace to the world, he tried to follow a
Yes.
compassionate life.
Absolutely. He had been kept away from these kinds of pains deliberately because of that prediction which had been made about him, that he's somebody who will either turn out to be a person who is greatest king of the world or the greatest seer of the world. If you really see, the prediction was not really wrong. Till date, we do discuss Buddha and his teachings, and they're still relevant to the world today. That is what is very interesting about Buddha. And the enormous contribution to the world and the way that the people think. His ideas are very profound, very practical, and very logical. Now, let's move on to see the various places on a Google map. The places which are important for him is an interesting exercise. I want you to go through it. We are going to be first looking at the birthplace of Buddha, the exact place of birth. What is the birthplace of Buddha? Anyone? You mentioned it earlier.
Ma'am, Lumbini.
Lumbini, yes. Where is Lumbini located in? Which country? Is it in India or elsewhere?
Nepal.
It's in
Nepal.
Nepal, yes. It is disputed. India wants it in India, and while it's disputed, and it's one of the most traveled places apart from all other places associated with Christianity. This is one of the most traveled places in the world. So isn't it interesting that you're looking at this exact place of Buddha here? Yes, we have come to the next one, which is Bodh Gaya. What is Bodh Gaya all about?
It's the place where he attained enlightenment.
Yes, come again, Upasana.
It's the place where he attained enlightenment.
Yes, this is the place where he attained enlightenment. This is the big temple at Bodh Gaya. Yes. Can you click on the Mahabodhi temple? Yes. The Mahabodhi temple, where it's one of the most important pilgrimage centers of Buddhism. Yes. Now the next one is, which do you think is the most important center? Next one, Sarnath. What is it known for?
Ma'am, it's the place.
This is where
Pranav, tell me.
Ma'am, I think it's the place where he delivered his first message or so.
Yes, he delivered his first sermon at Sarnath. Yes, a very important place located near Varanasi. It's a stone throw from Varanasi, 10 kilometers. And it's a very important place once again. And it is there that you have your the national emblem also. It was originally on a pillar, and now it has been kept over there in the museum. And it's a treat to watch it. It's a treat to see it because the gloss has not gone away from that Ashokan pillar. It's still shining. The last one is Kushinagara. What is it known for? Kushinagara? Anybody? The death of Buddha. Yes. He died at Kushinagara. So there is a monument placed over there also. Okay. So there is an original mount and then there is a monument placed there also. Now let's move on to the next aspect. We'll be discussing these in greater detail. We'll be talking about the structure of the stupa and the importance of a stupa, why stupas were made, who made them, etc. in the later classes. Yes. Now, let's understand the beliefs that Buddha emphasized on and the teachings of Buddha. Now, when we look at the teachings of Buddha, the first is what you refer to as the turning wheel of law. In the turning wheel of law, the main problem that is created in your life, all the tensions of your life, are created by one and only thing, and that is desire. And how do you deal with that desire? You give up desire. That is the only way to solve the problem. But mortal human beings, as we are, we can't give up desire. So, how do we actually handle that desire? We handle that desire by going on to the middle path. The middle path, which shuns both the extremes. That is, when you have desires, either you go after desires and you just, do not think about anything else at all. I need this and I want this and I want to do this. That is one way of doing it. And the other one, the other extreme is that I don't want to have any desires at all. I want to shun from desires so that I don't get into trouble. Both are not solutions to the problem, according to Buddha. He says, follow a middle path. And that middle path, he has called it the eightfold path of Buddhism. And that eightfold path of Buddhism says that you should have, which the gist of the eightfold path is that you should have the right thought process. When you have the right thought process, you will move on to meditate in the right way, then move on to taking the actions, the right kind of actions. And those right kinds of actions over a period of time will result in many, many changes in your thought processes. Now, when these thought processes materialize, you will realize that the various consequences that are happening through these thought processes will lead you to the right path, which is devoid of too much of desire and too much of shunning and running away from these desires. Both of these things are equally important as far as the middle path or the eightfold path is concerned. He says, when you come to samsara, the samsara is bound to be with a lot of dukkha. That dukkha needs to be overcome. You can't live with it, you can't run away from it. He puts it across again and again in so many different ways, and he gives us a path through which we should be able to handle all the problems in our lives. Okay, so any questions? I'm just talking about basics. We will be going on to discuss almost every aspect of the Eightfold Path later on, but you can still ask me questions. Yes, any questions? I've just given you an overview right now. I'm not even discussing it too much. Yes, anything that you want to ask at this stage? Okay. One basic form of Buddhism, which is talked about, there are many forms of Buddhism which have come into existence. But soon after the death of Buddha, two important things happened. One is, are we going to follow Buddhism the way that Buddha actually lived it? That's what you call as Hinayana. It's also referred to as Theravada. The way Buddha actually lived it. That's one. Then the other one is Mahayana. Mahayana is worshipping Buddha in the form of idols and almost doing the same rituals that we do in Hinduism. Mahayana believes in the worship of Buddha in the form of an idol and following the broad truths that were propagated by Buddha as his teachings, and those broad ideas are followed. The third aspect of Buddhism, the third kind of Buddhism, is Vajrayana. Vajrayana means thunderbolt Buddhism, which is more tantric form of Buddhism, wherein a number of magical practices are also followed. The Tibetan form of Buddhism and the forms of Buddhism known in eastern part of India are tantric forms of Buddhism. They're all Vajrayana forms of Buddhism. And that kind of Buddhism became highly popular from Tibet to China, and then it moved on even to Japan. So that form of Buddhism is very popular that side. And if you go to Thailand and other places, the influence of both the forms of Buddhism, you can see Hinayana as well as Mahayana over there, because huge statues of Buddha can be found all over Thailand and Vietnam and various countries. You will find that is also very popular because there is influence of Japan and China over there. And then Buddhism also reached them via Burma. So the Burma form of Buddhism is more of Hinayana. So they are familiar with both the forms of Buddhism. But the Tantric form of Buddhism, very, very well known in today's date, because you know Dalai Lama very well, and that kind of Buddhism is definitely there. All the Tanka paintings are made to depict Maitreya Buddha, who is the Buddha, the coming Buddha is yet to come in, and they worship him. You'll find him all over Leh and Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh and all over, wherever you go, you'll find tantric form of Buddhism, which is generally these days associated with the Tibetan Buddhism. Okay, so we will do this in more detail later on. Yes. So we've done this earlier. Yes. Now we can move on to let's do some little bit of a history quiz on flashcards. Yes. Let's see if you're able to recognize these. What do you think this is? We've just talked about this right now. Let me see if you're able to identify this symbol of Buddhism, which is found on the Sanchi Stupa. Yes, Mansi?
This is worshipping the Bodhi tree.
This is a turning wheel of law. Yes, Arnav is right. It's a turning wheel of law. It is also known as Dharma Chakra Pravartaka, or the turning wheel of law. Yes. You will find that it's very interesting to see that many of these terms which are used in Buddhism are actually in Sanskrit. Dharma Chakra Pravartaka, the turning wheel of law. You do find that wheel of law over there, the wheel, which is very well known to you. It is on our national flag. Yes, it is there at Konark, the same wheel made in a different way. Yes. The next. What do you think this is? A very important structure associated with Buddhism. The stupa. Yes. The stupa is a very important structure. It is generally referred to as a burial mound. It is possibly the first of the structures, religious structures made in India. And these burial mounds were, you would wonder as to, there were many stupas that were made even after the death of Buddha. They collected the relics of Buddha. It could be a nail, it could be a hair, it could be a bone, it could be anything, or even a scripture would be put underneath in the foundations, and a stupa would be built on it. So these are extremely sacred structures as far as Buddhists are concerned. One of the most important symbols of Buddhism. Next. What do you think this is?
Motion, the wheel of Dharma.
Yes. No, this is the Bodhi tree. Yes, you're right. Underneath the Bodhi tree, there is an empty seat. Yes. This empty seat shows that Buddha is meditating. This shows, it symbolizes the meditation of Buddha. Okay, so Yes, Antardhyan, absolutely right. So it shows the Antardhyan of Buddha. He is in deep meditation. So physically he may be present there, but he is not present over there, and that is symbolically represented by this particular representation. Okay, so we'll be doing this in greater detail later on. Yes. Now this is a very interesting picture. There's a very interesting sculpture. This is a sculpture that you will find in almost all the ancient monuments. I noticed this in Konark also.
What questions does she ask the Brahmana and what are their significance?
What is the significance? Yes.
She
Tell me.
asks she asks the Brahmana the reason why he comes to the river to bathe himself, even though his legs are shaking from the winter cold, and
Mm,
like how and the way she is forced to come and fetch water. She asks him what his reason for doing so is. And the
yes.
significance of this question is that um, she wants to know if the Brahmana is also, like her, oppressed or forced to do something because of his social category.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic answer, Arya. This is the way we actually understand from the source as to what exactly is being said here. She is a water carrier. She has no option in life. So she has to come every day in order to fetch water, even if it is cold or hot, or whether she's feeling well or not well, she has no option. Here she's asking that that every day she's going to be told off by the high class woman, of her household, that and frightened of punishment because she's going to be punished if she doesn't do it. So she's asking the Brahmana, what are you afraid of? What is making you go down this river which is so cold in this weather? So why are you doing it? So that's the question. So the next question. Yes, who's going to give me the next question?
Ma'am?
Yes, Anya.
Yes, ma'am. The next question is, what does Punna finally advise the Brahmana to do?
Yes.
So, ma'am, the answer to this is that in the last paragraph, Punna says that whoever told you that you will be able to wash off all the evils if you bathe in water or go to the water, it's not right, because then all the crocodiles, the turtles, the frogs would also go to heaven. So she basically just tells him that this is not really how it works, and you're not going to go to heaven just because, and you're not going to wash off your evils just by doing this. And you should, now that you're old, you should save your skin from the cold water, and you should not visit it so much.
Yes, one question that we have missed out, which I want to put in over here. What is the answer given by the Brahmana as to why he is coming to the river every day? Yes, who's going to answer this question? What is the answer given by the Brahmana?
Ma'am, he says that anyone who is young or old, if they want to prevent evil and if they have done something bad, then they are freed from their sins if they wash in water.
Do you actually believe that? If you go and take a bath in a cold water in a river, yes, yeah, tell me.
Ma'am, personally, of course, like I don't believe it, but there are people who go to, like they take a bath in the Ganga because it's holy or something like that. So of
Hmm.
course, there are some people who do believe that, but not exactly me.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes, tell me.
ma'am, if
Anything else?
this would have been so, then all the criminals would have been sent to Ganga to bathe in the holy river instead of hanging them or punishing them, and giving a sentence of prison.
Why do you think people bathe in the holy river? Have you ever thought about it?
Ma'am, it's all the game of mind. It's all about our feelings. It's not the material. It does not materialize actually.
Yes.
But
In
ma'am,
the early times, in the Rig Veda and other Vedas, rivers are venerated. They are considered to be the most pure things that for a human being, because they are they clean you completely. They are the source of life. They are life givers. Without water, you cannot exist. And clean water is something which is an absolute essential for every human being and an animal to live. And hence, rivers were proclaimed and they were spoken about as sacred. It was very important for everybody to keep the rivers very clean, as it is today for us to keep the rivers clean. And how do you actually keep these rivers clean? By terming them as sacred, so that nobody will actually desecrate them. That is the reason why the whole idea of sacred rivers was put in place, so that people will fear desecrating it. That is one. But all this is carrying it a bit too far. Now, then the last one, very, very important question. Which teaching of Buddha is evident in this composition? Who's going to talk about it? Volunteer? Ujjwal has not spoken today.
Yes,
Yes?
ma'am.
Ah,
Unnecessary,
yes, Isma, tell me. Isma, tell me.
ma'am, unnecessary religious practices don't matter. It's actually about the faith and belief within your mind.
Yes, he is always, Buddha has always protested against rituals, meaningless rituals. Isma is absolutely right. Unnecessary rituals don't matter. It is basically the ideas. Can you explain it further, Isma? Can you
Ma'am, I
explain?
think one of the major things about Buddhism was how it really, the meditation part, which really focused on your faith and your belief in God, and rather than showcasing it around the world to define, like, oh, I'm so religious, oh, I'm like,
Yes, exactly.
I'm getting more, piling up on all those, doing good things as, like, to pile up on the, I'm not sure of the right word for it,
No, no, you know,
to get
that is,
in,
you're
to
not
like
showing,
get in
religion is
good
not about showing
afterlife.
off. Spiritualism is not about showing off. It's about making your own inner self better. That's what spiritualism is all about. Meditating is very, very important, as you said. The second very important thing which comes out from this passage is that it is individual agency. That is, irrespective of caste, creed, color, or gender, anybody can reach God. And it's not these unnecessary rituals which will get you to reach God. It is the inner spiritualism and how much you want it and how much you are willing to practice it. That's what gives you the spiritual experience. So, this slave woman, she was able to give a profound religious experience of hers to this Brahmana was supposed to be higher in strata of society and higher in terms of education or knowledge. With very simple words, she conveyed it. This is the way in which Buddhism and the ideas were preached and transmitted. Sutta Pitaka is a text which gives you primarily the basic ethos of Buddhism. Okay, so I think we have begun well for the first source, because I thought we should begin with this source rather than Teri Gatha. It primarily means the Teris are those people who are the enlightened ones. And this lady, even though she was a slave woman, she was the enlightened woman. And it is her story. Okay, she's the one who is the main karta of the story. What do you think this particular stone sculpture depicts?
Now it's the lady in the story.
Yes, she's the lady of this story. Okay. Thank you.